you're yourself going on a journey soon too.
Yeah.
And it's actually the main journey that we write grants for in our organization for first responders. I've been through that journey 2 times. I'm speaking about going down to Ambio and Tijuana, Mexico for Ibogaine and 5-MeO-DMT. And yeah, that 5 days in Mexico really seems to open a portal for people's healing and for their body healing. And as we mentioned, that journey is backed by scientific study, the Stanford study.
And the beautiful thing, there's really no side effects. I mean, you purge, it's uncomfortable, it's not addictive. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of guys, it's, I don't want to say a one and done, but they go once, and normally if they're doing the self-care, they can keep up with that maintenance, right?
To an extent, yes. Yeah. Yes and no. I'm a person that has had multiple psychedelic journeys, and does mini integration for them constantly. So it's hard for me to think that somebody could just go for one psychedelic journey and just be healed.
Right.
However, a lot of people do that. It's what they needed to either repair that TBI site or just to get into a self-love journey.
Sure.
I care about myself. I want to care for myself. There are instances though where, especially with TBIs, where people need to go maybe more than once, or for multiple modalities. It just really depends on the trauma that the person's having to work through.
Right.
And how and what tools they have and how they can work with themselves.
Yep.
Psychedelics, if you go sit with Ibogaine or Iboga, you're going to get, a decade's worth of healing in 24 hours, or 12 hours, how long you're on that mat on the floor for 12 hours. So you're going to emerge from that with this huge healing that I often refer to as you took your car through the car wash, and you got detailed. You're really shiny, and you paid for a detail too. It's not cheap to access these things.
Right.
So we can't always just be paying to get our cars detailed every week, but we come out of that and we're going to go back on the road, and we're going to get the brake dust. We're going to get the rain. We're going to get, all the environmental pollutants on our car, and it's not going to last forever. It's going to get dirty again.
Sure.
But the tools, that's like, you can go home and hand wash if you have the tools. You can get your hose out, spray it down, wipe it down, and you don't necessarily have to take yourself through that detailed process before. But but if you want to boost up your healing, and you want to kind of warp speed through it, psychedelics are definitely a supportive psychedelic setting,
sure.
I should say, is definitely the fast track for that.
And each journey is different, right? Like, for your first one, we established that it helped with sleep. So that's step 1. What have you noticed on like subsequent Iboga journeys?
First journey, sleep, and saw nothing. Saw no psychedelic thing, which 20% of the population that sits with this medicine sees nothing.
Did you purge with it?
Purged so much. I spent the night vomiting, just basically vomited all night long, and thought, how can I vomit anymore?
There's nothing left.
Oh, alas, more would come. But vomited all night long, and then and then got that ability to sleep. Then when I sat with Ibogaine, I had a psychedelic journey where I definitely, saw more stuff, and I used that. I sat with Ibogaine post the death of my husband for my grief journey. Instead of, taking sedatives, what the hospital offered me, and what I was offered, going back home, hey, you might need some stuff to stabilize and to sleep and whatnot.
Right.
I chose, because I had learned, I knew what I knew.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know. But I knew what I knew, and I opted for and I actually called Marcus Capone, and I said he established VETS, Veterans Exploring Treatment Solutions, and I knew that he had a relationship with an Ibogaine facility, and I knew I wasn't going to do living
it in the
room
living room.
Iboga.
Once
Not
was
doing
enough.
that again. And I asked him, because I wanted to go, here I am, my kids only have me now.
Right.
Their fathers passed away. I need to do this in a responsible setting, but I need to heal. You know, I need to be able to be that mom that is here to take care of these kids. So I called Marcus because I knew he had a safe avenue through VETS, and that's when I got Trevor Miller's contact information. And yeah, I spent Thanksgiving 2023 with at the table with Trevor and Brianna and 5 other beautiful women that had gone through a women's group. And yeah, it was one of the greatest things I've ever done for my life, you know, just period. It's one of the greatest gifts you can give to yourself.
Now, what did you see, if I can ask, on that journey? Because a lot of people say they see God or they see loved ones that have passed.
So I didn't see my husband, I connected with him.
Okay.
I had a conversation with him. Prior to the journey beginning, something kind of unexplainable to me happened. We were outside in Tijuana, Mexico. You do a fire ceremony there before you take the medicine. And we were all standing on the hill, just overlooking the ocean, and a green, it looked like a falling star, came down just when it was green. And I said, oh, you guys see that shooting star? And one other woman had seen it, and she said, oh, I think it was a flare because it was green. I said, I thought that too.
Yeah.
But it didn't arch up and drop. It dropped.
Yeah.
So I thought that too, but it didn't arch up. And she was like, yeah, it's super weird. Anyway, don't think anything more of it. Go into my journey, right? That happened prior to me taking any psychedelic substance. I saw this. She saw this. I go into my journey, and immediately, as soon as I get in the medicine, my husband says to me, I don't see him, but I hear him.
Yeah.
And he says, I bet you didn't know shooting stars could be green.
Oh my gosh.
And green's my favorite color. Like green's like really close to me. I could tear up now, but yeah, so. And then I was able to interact with him.
Right.
But in a different dimension,
Sure.
And not in the way that we interact now. But the piece of just knowing, that his energy still existed.
Yeah.
It gave me so much hope. And yeah.
Because we wonder, right? We all wonder that. What happens?
What happens?
Yeah, where do they go?
Yeah, do they, and some people some people think, that's it, your ride's over,
Right.
And so it really, and no one wants their favorite person on Earth's ride to be over.
Right.
Especially if you're still on the ride.
Right.
So, yeah, it really brought me just a lot of peace, a lot of healing. At that time, I told Trevor when I went down there.
And that's what the plant knew you needed.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah. I told Trevor, I'm open. I came down there because I was starting this psychedelic organization. I was doing this. And, I said to him later, I said, you didn't believe me when I said that. And he's like, do you know how many people tell me they're doing that? He's like, you're the only one that did it. So we laugh about it now. But yeah, it was really like, once you find something like Ibogaine or ayahuasca, which I've sat with a few times, and 5-MeO-DMT, once you find these modalities, you want to share these with everybody.
Right.
You want everyone to feel the freedom that you're feeling in your life. I can only describe it as like, instead of being like chained to this earth now, I feel like I've gotten to remove all of those shackles, and I can freely move about now with what I know. And Ibogaine, Iboga, ayahuasca, they unlock all those chains.
Yeah.
So I'm not the only person, that's had this experience that says this.
Right.
The people that we deal with first responders, that are on their worst parts of their lives, I talk to everybody when I start a grant intake. I'll say, how are you doing today? And they'll say, I'm pretty good. And I'll be like, I don't think you are.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be here.
So then that kind of gets a chuckle out of
Right.
them, you know.
Well, we're trained to do that,
yeah,
right? We're trained to put
we're
that straight face.
great.
We're
Yeah.
great. Everything is wonderful.
Put that mask on, you know. So then we start to. That's really the integration. That's when you start the pre-journey integration is when you start to take the mask off.
Yeah.
You know, you take the mask off so that you can get in there to yourself. You know, all these protectors, all of these walls that we're constantly, all these masks that we're putting in place, you know, to protect this, when really you got to like unpeel that onion so that you can get inside of there. You got to feel it to heal it. You've got to sit with it, look at it, and then let it go.
Right.
Psychedelics provide all of that for a person. They provide the opportunity to be able to do that self-examination portion, peel that onion back, and let it go in a safe manner. So yeah, that's what I want to give to the world. I would love to, you know, let everybody experience psychedelic healing with integration. The integration is just so important. I tell people all the time, you know, if taking psychedelics healed you, the majority of the population, I mean, at least for me and my friend group in high school, we would have been healed in high school.
Right.
So then people in college would have been healed, you know.
Right.
Yeah, that I wasn't healed from any of the mushroom journeys I was doing when I was in high school or college, or any of the acid trips.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And yeah, and it's definitely much more powerful when it's done in a supportive setting with integration. And it's like you said, you can be one and done if you've got integration.
Right.
So.
Right. Now, I want to shift gears a little bit. For our listeners, what's the difference between Ibogaine or Iboga versus ayahuasca as far as what it does, what it shows you, the healing capabilities?
So the Iboga and Ibogaine are, you know, the Ibogaine comes from the Iboga. So that's the same substance if someone's talking about that. Those two, just for clarification to the listeners. I do not notice any difference in the journey between Iboga and Ibogaine, rather than you have to ingest much less Ibogaine than you do Iboga. You know, the Ibogaine is 13 milligrams per kilogram. That's how you weigh it out. It's really easy to weigh out and put in pill form. When the Iboga, you know, I probably took 80 capsules of root bark.
Wow.
Yeah, and I had to take 4 capsules of the Ibogaine. So
That's a big difference.
80 with Iboga, 4 with Ibogaine.
Right.
Much easier.
Eesh.
Yeah, so that does the same thing. I don't notice any difference in my journeys with that. That's the same. Ayahuasca, it is a root and a vine. You get a cup of it. It's made into like a tea. To me, I don't like the taste of it at all. You're not going to see me sipping on ayahuasca, you know, for fun. You won't see anybody doing that. But it provides, it's a feminine medicine, whereas the Ibogaine is much more masculine. So the Ibogaine kind of gets to the point.
Sure.
They kind of describe it as like if your grandpa was taking you on a healing journey, you know, to be like, okay, we're going to go over the points of your life or perhaps, you know, weren't your finest moments. But you're doing it with your grandpa, and your grandpa's like so for you, and he loves you, and he wants to make sure that you're safe and supported. So you know you're safe while you're going through that journey. So you feel a much more masculine air to the Ibogaine. It also, for me, it tends to send you almost to space.
Okay.
I would say there's like this expansiveness. There's this like you're in space.
Okay.
Where with ayahuasca, you're going into the earth. Ayahuasca is much more about the earth, how the earth cares for you, the plants. You're really connected to plants. And I just did an ayahuasca journey recently, and I remember when we were doing the integration, they were like, oh, well, you know, what's a takeaway or whatever. And I feel so much better now. Humans aren't in charge, plants are. And when you think about it, plants are supporting us here. We are breathing because of plants. We are eating because of plants. Like, we are nourished on this earth because of plants. We are decomposed when we die because of plants.
Right.
So it's like the plants are feeding and caring for us so that they can feed off of us once we die. That cycle is very much present when you're sitting with ayahuasca. And it's the grandmother. It's that feminine. Your grandmother is, I'm not going to say more gentle, because ayahuasca is certainly not a gentle journey. But she loves you too. And she's going to care for you, you know, the way your grandmother would. And there is nothing that you are shown. And for me, this is very true, and I've heard people say this over and over again. You are not shown anything from either of those medicines that you cannot handle. The qualities that people seek out a lot for when it comes to the Iboga or the Ibogaine are that it is a pattern disruptor for addictions. I have heard people are successful getting off of substances, with ayahuasca as well. However, Ibogaine and Iboga are known across the board. If you're a heroin addict, if you're an alcoholic, even if you're a smoker, you are not physically addicted anymore once you do Ibogaine or Iboga. So that's a characteristic that's huge for that. So it can break people free of addictions, which is why it's gotten labeled kind of like, oh, this is for addicts.
Sure.
But it's not. It's for everyone.
Right.
It's for if you have a traumatic brain injury, if you had the severe loss of a loved one, if you can't sleep.
Right.
We hear a lot of time that people, after they go through Ibogaine or Iboga, they resolve their sleep much like I did. My story is not unique. So these things seem to happen with everyone. That's what Ibogaine can do. Now, will you go back to your addiction? You can be mentally addicted to something and not physically addicted. So if you're going to go back and you're going to go back into your patterns and you go back and you're hanging out with your same friend groups again, and this is going on every night. It's not Topo Chico. It's not the water. Then you're going to put yourself right back in there.
Sure.
That was what you chose to do with your car when you came back.
Yes.
So the ayahuasca, it definitely, both of these modalities, both of these medicines are going to show you that there's more to your existence. Right. There's more to life than your life and what happens after. The ayahuasca also really tends to go after and heal your ancestral roots. It seems to really hit with family and go in there and kind of clear that out and kind of reconnect you with your ancestral roots and with your family through your ayahuasca journey. Ibogaine will show you, things in your life that have gone on, like people see their brothers who passed away or their best friend, or somebody who died, a lot like that. But it doesn't take you as deeply like on this ancestral journey, I would say, where it's like really showing you that you are connected. We are all connected. The only thing that's different between you and me is our ego. Our ego separates us, and archetypes separate us, right? But and these are all human conditions. So one of my favorite things to say is, if there's no humans on Earth, what are the rules?
There are no rules.
There's no rules.
Yeah, exactly.
This is just something that has been established by humanity, by archetypes, by egos. And if we dissolve all of that, then we are all one. We are all, just this God consciousness.
Right, that utopia.
Yeah, that exists. So, and Ibogaine, I'm always shown too, that, to get back to that modality, that like anything happening here on earth, like it'll start in some point in my journey, and both of my Ibogaine journeys, it has shown me like the earth, like all the fighting, like just humanity, just pillaging and fighting and raping and killing and all this, but in a setting where I'm like almost just like watching it from back. I'm not feeling involved. I feel very safe, and it'll just kind of show everyone just like doing that, and then the earth, and then the politicians and everybody just fighting and whatnot. And like, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. And then all that just gets super, super small, and the whole earth, it'll go away. And then there's just this vastness that like comes out where I'm taken through this slideshow of the universe, and it has minimal to do with the existence on Earth.
Big picture.
Yeah.
Right.
So then you come back from that, and then you have to integrate it.
Right.
You know? So yeah, so those are the main differences. Ayahuasca really shows you're just super connected, and everyone's intertwined, and you're here, and it really kind of pulls you to the earth. And ayahuasca Ibogaine and Iboga kind of just show you that there's just this vastness of space that exists, and galaxies and solar systems and whatnot, you know.
Cool.
Things you can't explain, you know.
Right. And you wouldn't know if you hadn't taken that journey. There's no way.
I still don't know, you know, and I took the journey. I still don't know.
And there's so many more journeys to take, right?
Yeah, so it's also just, too, our human minds just can only process what our human minds can process.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So that's where the integration comes in, really.
Yeah.
I had one guy, he, a first responder that we had taken through, he was a retired police officer and Army veteran, and such a great guy. And he had his Ibogaine journey, and then he had his 5-MeO DMT journey. And after his 5-MeO DMT journey, he was really struggling, crying and just upset. And I went over to talk to him, and I said, are you doing okay? And he's like, not really. And I said, oh, you know, what's going on? And he said, well, I connected with my brother. His brother had passed away, which was just beautiful. And, you know, I was like, isn't that positive? He said, yes. And he said, but I didn't believe in God before I came here. And now I do, and I'm really struggling with that.
Oh, wow. You know? Wow. Now he knows.
So, yeah. So it's...
That's
oftentimes people will say, I don't want to, not oftentimes, but occasionally I'll have a first responder and they'll say, I don't want to come through. I'm devoutly Catholic or whatever.
Yeah.
I grew up in Catholicism. So, you know, I'm devoutly Catholic, and I'll say, okay. And they'll say, yeah, I feel like it'll pull me away from God. And it always, 10 times out of 10, it rejuvenates the relationship someone has with their higher power, or makes it stronger.
Sure, I could see that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, did you notice anything from your recent ayahuasca journey that was different
than my past journeys?
Yeah.
So I went into this ayahuasca journey. The first time I ever sat with ayahuasca was 6 weeks prior to my husband's passing. And I was doing it for I was on the tail end of my bee venom.
Oh, yeah.
I had just stopped the bee venom, and I was just kind of doing this to bookend everything, to close it up. And I thought all my healing would be over then, you know.
Little did you know.
Little did I know.
Just beginning.
Yeah. So during that journey, though, my husband was at his firehouse in New York City. And I was at this ayahuasca journey, and I connected with my husband's unconditional love closer than I've ever connected with him in his physical presence during this journey. It was very much just about him and I, and just the trust I could have for him, and the unconditional love that he provided me.
Sure.
And it was just one of my most favorite, I could cry talking about it, you know, but it was one of my, to this date, my husband wasn't even physically present, and it was the most intimate moment I've ever had with him.
Wow.
Yeah. So, because I had that, when he died in front of me, I knew that I had this other part of him that still existed without him being physically present.
Sure.
So it really just held me like a grandmother would.
Sure.
Through his death. And I had third person syndrome at the accident site.
Right.
If people listening don't know what third person syndrome is, it's a super common thing that happens at near-death experiences. I had a near-death experience. The tree fell on me also, and for whatever reason, there was nothing wrong with me, and it doesn't make any sense. And, I was right next to him, and, oftentimes the mysteries of this world don't make sense, and that's one of them. And I was the only one that wasn't knocked out as well. So no one was with me, but someone was with me. They were standing behind me, and they were guiding me through his death, just being like,
right,
everything's going to be okay. Yes, this is happening, and you are not alone, and you are supported. And if I had turned around, I swear I would have seen a stadium of souls, but it was just me.
That's why
on that road, and whatever I experienced. And then, then the first responders showed up, and then that lifted, and I had to leave my husband to go take the ambulance with my children. And but even being able to have that at the scene, I wasn't torn over, do I leave him?
Sure.
Or do I go with my children?
Right.
There
was that peace.
Yeah.
In the chaos, which is...
Peace in the chaos.
Right.
Yeah, which was, and it, to me, I attribute that to this day to my ayahuasca journey.
Right.
So when I went this last time, I was fully expecting to reconnect.
Sure.
When you have a psychedelic experience, you think, okay, I know what this is about. I know what's going to happen. You don't.
There's that ego, right?
Yeah.
I got this.
I'm driving this car. No.
Oh,
so
funny.
I was really excited to connect deeply with my husband again. I thought, yeah. And ayahuasca had different plans for me. So, this time was focused on me. It gives ayahuasca, definitely gives you, what you need. Even if you didn't come here to heal that part, it knows what to heal. So my intention for this ceremony, when I went this last time, I said, give me whatever you need to give me for my healing.
Yeah.
Whatever I need to see, please show me.
Yeah.
This was very much this journey was about reconnecting with my lineage, with my family, with healing just deep-rooted ancestral trauma and things that had happened in my family, presumably for generations, cycle breaking, all of that.
Sure.
And the empathy that you receive post-psychedelic journey, there's nothing on earth that can give a human empathy like these psychedelic journeys can. Empathy and understanding for other humans. For me, during this ayahuasca journey, it took me through many aspects of my mother's childhood that really allowed me to just have so much empathy and compassion for her.
Sure.
And the job that she did for me.
Sure.
Just really solidifying. My mother did her best with the tools that she was equipped with.
Sure.
And just a reminder that all human beings are operating from their wounds.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's just seeing that and knowing that in my heart has just allowed me so much healing and so much openness, to let things go. We're meaning-making machines that are constantly telling ourselves what our truth is.
Right.
Not knowing that we have the power to change that story and give ourselves a different lens to seek that truth through. And psychedelics provide that lens switch so that you can put that new lens on and say, oh, I didn't see it this way before. And then that's going to give you a language expansion that you didn't have before that will translate from your subconscious over to where that ego resides. And then that new information allows you to not only heal, but just to be a more loving and accepting person.
For sure. It kind of changes your vibration state too, I would think.
Yeah, for sure. We don't want to, freak them out with vibration talk.
Let's not go there yet. For sure. I love that.
Yeah.
So with your organization, your foundation, what's like the first step? How does a first responder go through the process?
So the Casey Skudin 343 Fund is available to any and all career first responders that have been on the job full-time for 5 or more years. And that includes police officers, firefighters, and EMTs, emergent or paramedics,
sure.
That whole gamut.
Yeah.
And you go onto the 343 Fund website, fill out a grant application. We ask everybody to just be as forthcoming as possible. Everything's confidential.
Right.
We serve active duty and retired. And they fill out an application. I do all the grant intakes. So they'll either hear from someone from 343 prior to me, but eventually they'll hear from me. And then we just go over everything, and they choose a modality. We don't choose modalities or anything for them. We just provide information and grants. So if they get approved for a grant, they are then put into our grant program. I always say the grant is secondary to the integration. They will be required to do pre and post journey integration. They're given a psychedelic coach. The coach will stay with them for a year. Post journey, they will have access to that coach for 2 sessions prior to their journey, mandatory, 2 sessions after, mandatory, and then they will be allowed, if they want to have 2 sessions a month for a year after that on 343 Fund.
Perfect.
That helps people, to not feel alone and to kind of be like, okay, this person has a little bit more information about this, or the coach, they can help me get through when you come back from your journey. We provide a breathwork facilitator as well. We've required breathwork previous and post journey. The reason why we give the breathwork facilitator is because during a psychedelic journey, there's very little that is within control. However, being able to regulate your central nervous system with your breath is one of the things that you can control during a psychedelic journey.
Right.
So that gives them something to focus on, and also something that is within their control.
Sure.
So we give them a breathwork facilitator, and then they have breathwork sessions pre and post. We have a weekly integration call. We have a weekly mindfulness evening, which is just an hour of either yin yoga or a sound bowl. You don't have to do anything. You just lay there and chill.
Yeah. I love that.
Right? We like to give people things like, you don't have to do anything.
Right.
You just can chill.
Yeah.
And because a lot of the stuff in this process is a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
And then we give them the breath work on Saturday mornings too. Every Saturday morning, every grant recipient can log in at 10 a.m. Eastern time for our breath work.
Perfect.
And then we have a spousal partner integration call too during the week, where anyone's can come on with their spouse, their partner, really any family member, a concerned loved one,
Sure.
and talk about the journey, answer any and all questions, provide scientific evidence, talk to another spouse, just to kind of make sure that your loved one's going to be okay.
Right.
Because the scariest part about this is just the unknown.
Oh, yeah, and you don't know what kind of person's going to come back.
Right.
That
too. Like a lot of times a wife will say, "Is my husband still going to love me when he comes back?"
Right.
Yes, probably even more. I hope you're ready for it.
Be ready.
Yeah. And then so that's our program. We also provide an integration manual that goes along with everything. It gives new tools. We deal a lot in the realm of alcoholism. Alcohol's legal. It's super easy to get your hands on, socially acceptable. and a lot of the people coming through are either alcoholics or have a troublesome relationship with alcohol, and they'll beat themselves up pretty good about it, and say, shame. There's a lot of shame around that.
Right.
Well, alcohol is a tool.
Right.
It's just a tool.
Right.
When I used to drink to black out, I was drinking to black out because I didn't want to be in my body.
Right.
So it's a tool that I use.
Yep.
So I tell people all the time, there is no shame in that. Without alcohol as a tool, I wouldn't even be sitting here giving you a grant today.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we kind of try to destigmatize enough of that conversation of beating yourself up.
Right.
And then here's an integration manual. We're going to give you a whole new set of tools that's inside here for you to choose from, not just one option. We're going to give you loads of options inside of here, and then fill you with a system of support that's never going away. You only have your coach on us for a year, but you have the integration calls, you have the breath work, you have the mindful, the meditations on Mondays, you have the spousal program, you have your integration manual. So it's like we're working with them one-on-one for this 1 year period of time until, okay, you've practiced all of this, you have your new practice.
Yes.
Now you know how to utilize your tools, and you can go self-regulate in the world and be a better first responder if you're still on the job.
Sure. Yeah.
Be a better husband, be a better wife, be a better parent. The thing I love about servicing the population of first responders that's still active duty is I just told you that what are you gaining from psychedelics? You're gaining empathy.
Yes.
Providing empathy to first responders makes it better when they show up to our sites when we're in emergency crisis.
Right.
Yeah. So it's just wholesome stuff.
And they don't get that.
They don't get that.
They don't get that at all right now.
They don't get it from their departments. There's no support. No matter what any police department in America wants to say about the support that they provide. I'm going to say there's a couple of departments that are doing a really good job.
Yeah.
But outside of the couple of departments that are doing a really good job, it's not, and even inside of that, it's not good enough.
Right.
It's not good enough. And there's this moral injury that, what do you mean I'm supposed to go do an illegal substance, but I'm arresting people for doing illegal substances? But these substances got categorized with these street drugs.
Right.
During when this all started in the 60s, with the DARE movement. I remember I thought doing acid was, I honestly thought the first time I did acid, when I was 15 years old, that my brain was bleeding into my spinal cord. Like, that's why I only did it a few times.
But DARE was huge when we were young.
That's the conversation that they told us that was happening.
Yes.
And I honestly thought, this is happening and I could potentially die during this. Well, what was that doing for me? Number one, freaking me out during an acid trip. That's no good. And number two, that was putting my body in this state of fear while on a psychedelic.
Right.
Not a great space to be.
Right.
So through these re-education processes, through all this, we're being able to decategorize these psychedelic compounds from street drugs. These are not street drugs.
Right. And they're not addictive. Let's clarify that.
Not addictive. No one's going for, no one's like, hey, anybody want to do Iboga tonight? Like, no one's doing that. And outside of a supportive ceremony setting, they're non-addictive. The results for the scientific studies that have been done on them speak for themselves.
Right.
And you look at the Stanford study, and then you look at a study about what cocaine did to a lab rat, okay? Like, we're talking about, we're regrowing gray matter over here.
Yes.
Or we're regrowing white matter, and we're talking about a drug there's no positive benefit to this. So they've just all been melded together, and now we're starting to defragment everything, and the truth is coming out.
Right, which is great.
Yeah.
It's about time.
It's about time.
Yeah. And really, the pharmaceuticals to this date aren't able to make money on psychedelics.
Well, that's, I think, what the main issue has been. If we look at it in general, all of our medical studies are funded through Big Pharma.
Right.
So that in itself is problematic because it's not really a diverse, a non-biased lens,
Right.
you know?
Right.
But these things right now, Big Pharma doesn't have a great way of getting these modalities out to people.
Right.
They don't want to study them.
No.
One, because they don't have a way, and two, because they seem to really be working.
Yeah.
And that's going to take away from business.
From sick care.
Sick care
Right.
really goes down the tubes. For me
Right.
personally, I haven't needed sick care since I've sat with Iboga. So I'm not great for Big Pharma and the medical industry.
Well, if you're not drinking alcohol, if you're not using nicotine, if you're not on prescriptions,
I'm not making them any money.
Exactly.
You know? So
and you're happier.
And I'm happier. even after living my worst nightmare,
Right,
I'm happier.
right.
So yeah, so there's a real need for, independent studies with this stuff, just to like what Vets did with the Stanford study
Right.
and AMBO. We just need more organizations to do things like that. Spread awareness, have talks like this to get the word out, so that they can take off that scary mask that my son's a drug addict, or my daughter's a drug addict, or my husband is, and kind of normalize these things for what they are. These are psychedelic healing compounds. These are not drugs.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, and just with that, it's more valuable to be able to take a prescription, a Cymbalta prescription. Had I just gone with that, I would have thought I had fibromyalgia.
Right.
I would have just been living in pain for the rest of my life outside of when I swallowed this pill, and I would have been trapped on that pill. And the goal here, at least for me, is to be able to exist peacefully with no substance. That's the goal. We don't want to be having to take something every single day. What if they don't make that anymore?
Right.
You're trapping yourself on something that you could potentially not be balled and chained to for life. For me, it was Cymbalta.
Right.
But for other people, it was Cymbalta and Adderall. I used to have to take Adderall every single day to focus. I don't have to do that anymore post-journey psychedelics.
Right. Well, I can't tell you how many patients I have on antidepressants.
Yeah.
And when you ask them, does it help? No.
Yeah.
Why are you on it? I don't know. I just got on it and never got off.
Well,
or Ambien, doesn't give me a good night's sleep.
No. But they're just taking it because it's just all they know how to do.
Right, and that's all that medicine has.
It's interesting because they've done with psychedelics, an antidepressant. It's a huge. It's widely used for PTSD or depression, suicidal ideations, all that, and the results that, if even the medical studies that have been done with antidepressants, the rates of success for antidepressants are so low.
Right.
It seems to just cause, at some points, for me, when I was on antidepressants, I had greater suicidal ideations. So it seems to either mask, do nothing, or cause more issues for people.
Sure.
And certainly some of them don't even understand. I mean, if you're on an SSRI, coming off of an SSRI, you're at the most potential for killing yourself. So we're giving you something that if you're going to try to get off, you're suicidal, we're getting depressed, we're giving you this.
Right.
If you ever try to get off of it, you have a good chance of killing yourself then. I mean, it just doesn't seem to make any sense. No.
Well, great. Anything else you want to share with our listeners?
If you want to support or come through a grant with the Casey Skudin 343 Fund, please, all donations are welcome and loved. We are a grant organization and we rely on donations to exist. If you know anybody, first responder, that needs help, please visit the Casey Skudin 343fund.org, and we would love to help you out or get a donation from you.
Any of the above.
Any of the above.
Well, thank you so much for coming all the way from New York.
Yeah, thanks.
It's been such a pleasure and honor meeting you.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed our time together, and I really thanks so much for hosting this. And
get the word out.
Yeah, if you need anything for your integration support for your journey, I'm here for you.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, because like you said, when you get back, You know, I think that's important.
Yeah.
And I know the tools, but still.
It's more fun
nice
with friends.
It is. It is. Yeah.
Misery loves company.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, cool. Thank you so much.
Thanks.